We all know on December 7th, 1941, that the United States entered the Second World War after the Japanese bombed the Pearl Harbor. This would lead to the United States entry into the war after an aggressive attack by the Japanese, followed up by similar attacks on American bases in the Philippines, Midway, Guam, and other American outposts that were then seized by the Japanese as they advanced into Southeast Asia. This would also be followed up by Italy and especially Germany declaring war on the United States. This would kind of signal the end, essentially the beginning of the end of the Axis. For the next 4 years, they would be pushed back constantly and would eventually lose. The first major American operation after the war was, of course, dealing with the Japanese and trying to win the Battle of Midway and certain battles out in the Pacific to make sure that Australia would not lose its lifeline to the West Coast via the Solomon Islands. This led to the Battle of Coral Sea, which we won. Um, the next major operation was Operation Torch, which was the American naval invasion of Morocco and Western Sahara and Algeria to put pressure on the Afrika Korps, which was at this point pushed back into Tunisia out of Libya. The landing was successful again with some early heavy French resistance, but immediately afterwards it would cease after negotiations with the Vichy French, and that would lead to the securing of North Africa. Followed up after the North African campaign was the Sicily invasion, which we tricked the Germans into thinking it was Sardinia, and then we invaded Sicily, which would lead to Benito Mussolini being ousted from power. After the invasion, they would push up through Italy, but face stifling resistance, and that front kind of closed down. So then Stalin was like, I need you guys to open up a front in France and take pressure off of the Eastern Front. So the Americans went, okay, we'll do it. And then they started Operation Overlord, which we know is D-Day. This essentially tricked the Germans into thinking they were going to land at Calais, and then landed at Normandy, which had flat beaches, and that in Calais. That's why Calais was the other option. It was also closer to England, but it was more heavily guarded, extremely heavily guarded. So we dropped paratroopers, landed there. They were they were the beaches, the beach names: Omaha, Juneau, Utah, Gold, Sword. Yeah, those were the beaches. These invasions were actually successful. Omaha was the one that we almost lost. Omaha Beach was had its heaviest casualties, but the landings were successful, and we pushed up into France, opening up a second front. This would eventually lead to the recapture of Paris and the liberation of France, along with Germany getting pushed back on the Western Front and the Eastern Front, both this time, starting to signal the end. This was in 1944, so literally a year later, the Germans had collapsed, losing all the territory they had. We would then push into France for multiple campaigns. There was the breakout out of Normandy, which almost got locked down by the Germans, pushed into other territories and towards the Rhine River. We eventually would cross the Rhine River, but then we would let the Soviets take Berlin because we needed to keep good relations or something. So all of these factors show that the American involvement in the war was actually quite good, along with American factories and its extreme industry contributing lots of arms and supplies to the Soviets and the British. If it wasn't for American supplies going to the Soviets, they might have collapsed. And then, of course, there was the other Pacific campaigns that would lead to Guadalcanal, securing the Solomons, pushing, and the Japanese out of Papua New Guinea, island hop campaign towards the Philippines, the capture of the Philippines, capture of Okinawa and Iwo Jima at the end of the war, and then the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which would lead to the end. All of these factors are extremely important, and essentially American involvement in the war kind of sealed. It was like the last nail in the Axis coffin before it got closed. It was like the last plank in it, and the invasion was the last nails. So they were stuck in the coffin trying to get out, and we were trying to put them in with nails. So, but this is about the American involvement in the war. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment, and please let me know if this was helpful in any way, shape, or form. Thanks. Bye.